I would say that people compete way too early, and you should only step on stage when you're truly ready. And that means doing all the work, doing all the posing, doing all the tan. So then when you do walk out, you look like a professional, even if it's your first show. Yeah, I do believe there's one compound that I would like to recommend for guys that do a lot of posing is myoinositol tripyrophosphate that increases the hemoglobin oxygen affinity and just has better oxygen delivery. So instead of increasing your red blood cell count in hematocrit and then being slightly dehydrated so your blood volume increases, you just improve the function of your red blood cells with ITPP, that you can buy it online. And that actually makes a huge difference regarding your stamina and breathing capacity. So for all the guys that are training up until the show, ITPP is something that you can look into. It makes quite a difference. Yeah, it makes quite a difference. So you can literally, because I notice it myself when I take it, my posing is 10 times better. Because I like to pull vacuums as well and do all these crazy poses. And it makes the breathing so much easier. So that's something people can look into. Before we don't discuss drugs at all, I have to give them a little bit of a PED education.
I think I was going to say what John said, even with posing coaches, 2022 was the first time I hired a posing coach. For all the other years, you were sort of not self-taught, but you picked up as you went along. You learned from other people that would show you in the gym or whatever like that. But hiring an actual professional coach, man, like John said, I do a 30-minute session with one of UK's top posing coaches, Emma Hyman. She used to put me through my paces in that 30-minute session. I started in the off season before that 2022 prep. By the end of it, the sweat was dripping down me from being, made hold poses that you thought you knew how to pose. And now you've got a professional coming in actually tweaking little things, not allowing you to step off the gas in terms of like from your ankle all the way to the top of your trap is being completely contracted in a back double bicep. Like not taken for granted that you can ease off when you're in these poses. And like John said as well, your breathing, being able to learn how to breathe through your nose so that you can control your waist, moving from a transition from your side relaxed to your rear relaxed, not letting go of that diaphragm so your belly's protruding out as you're turning around, because the judges are watching as you're turning around for that one little slip up of breathing out at your belly button and having an expanded waist. Little things like that. I guess, like John said, as I got older, pose and practice became like less and less to speak. You could still do 2 or 3 rounds during prep, but it wasn't as much as in the past. Like 2022, I think I was doing 3 rounds in the morning, 3 in the like mid-afternoon, and then another 2 in the evening time, just to practice what was being taught by the coach. And then you sort of remember, you when you do these sort of lessons online, you've got the recordings to go back over to sort of learn your own body's cues. And it's more so, like John said, you have to more so remember the little cues, like in a back double bicep, chest up, lean back, chin up. Silly little things like that can make a huge difference to how your physique looks in a pose. Rounding your back, arching back, where you need to tilt back too much or too little. Where are the judges sitting relative to you on stage? Are they sitting right below you? Are they sitting level in line with you? There's all these little things I have to take into consideration when you're doing shows of how you're going to angle your posing. And
then you need a hype man to scream at you when you're on stage, because the lighting is different than you expected. And they have a lot of top lighting, so there's a lot of shadows. Lean back. No, not too far back. You can't see the detail because there's shadows.
You're like, damn you, Steve.
Oh, my God, dude. No, so I used to do this for all of my clients at the World Championships because the lighting was different every time. And sometimes it would change day to day. And I would just stand there screaming on top of my lungs, lean back, lean forward, sit on that hamstrings. Oh, my God, dude.
Even
the worst.
Taking the time, and again, this is going to show day, taking the time to actually sit in the audience before you have to go backstage, to look at the lighting, to sort of know in your head, okay, this is the depth of the lighting relative to the judges. where's the best position? Do I need to go right up to the line? Do I need to stay one slight foot back from the line? Even though they're calling you to the white line, you might think when you're watching guys transition, the white line isn't exactly the best position. A little slightly bit back from it is where you're going to get the best detail. And it's paying attention, like you said, to how the show has been set up, because that lighting, regardless like what you're posing, if you're in the wrong position, you're at the very end of the lineup, you might get a different look to someone in the middle as well. So you have to manipulate your posing then to match where the lighting is positioned on the stage.
Yeah, most shows are not lit properly, unfortunately. Like the Mr. Olympia, Arnold Classic, good lighting. And even the Mr. Olympia, they changed it day to day last year.
The Olympia wasn't great.
The first day was, second day was way better. And I actually mentioned that to Dan Solomon at the VIP meeting, said there might need to make some changes to this lighting. Anyway, they listened on the second day. But if you're still in the amateur ranks or maybe not high tier professional shows, then the lighting might be make it or break it. Same as same day tanning. You see all these guys that walk out to wine, does nobody look good? It's not the competitor's fault. It's the tanning and the lighting that is not good. It's just unfavorable that day. I've seen it many shows happen, which is a shame because like at the Arnold Classic this year, everybody looked great. Literally everybody, from the first place to the last place. And that's what you would like to see from an audience perspective, but also from a competitor, obviously, because then everybody gets highlighted properly, and all this hard work is now immortalized in pictures. And when you see the pictures now in the videos on Instagram, you actually have like some bragging lights, like, yes, I did look this fucking good. Whereas your look could be ruined by bad lighting, and that's out of your hands. You could do everything right, but if you have bad lighting in the show, then it's job done.
From a promoter standpoint, it makes bodybuilders want to do your show. Like I would pick a show because what are you really left with after bodybuilding? It's like just your photos, right? It's like I did shows this past year where I knew the lighting wasn't going to be great, but I just needed to do it. But man, like people like, oh, you looked off. I was like, I wasn't fucking off, man. It was just like, that's the lighting setup, right? And so when you nail it on your stage lighting, like bodybuilders want to come to your show. So from a promoter standpoint, it's extremely smart to try to nail and have the right lighting, the right backdrop.
Usually the lighting is provided by the venue, but the venue doesn't understand bodybuilding.
Yeah, and sometimes it's standard, right? Sometimes they bring their lighting in, but you're right, it varies. So
it's a shame. It's a shame, but the bigger shows are usually properly lit, and then with the Olympia changing venues all the time, also, and then this year they had the graphics in the background. I'm like, man, this is.
I know.
Might not end well. At least the second night, everybody looked phenomenal. So they made some changes.
My second show I did, it was the Texas State. At the time, this was like the biggest Texas show, right? Like you had national level guys coming back through. It's when I finally saw someone in condition. I was like, oh, wow, I definitely am not in shape.
Oh, so that's what it is.
But anyway, what they did is like you're in this back holding room. Then they had a warm-up room you moved to. Then they'd move you to this other room where they had everyone standing in line to then go on stage. So the experts are back there like, blaze up, it's your time, like pump up. So you're pumping up, you're getting ready. They're like, all right, let's go from the warm-up room into the next room. You're like, okay, here we go. And then I realized like, oh shit, I'm like fourth in the line to then go out, and your pump's fading away. And you're like, oh, there it goes, all this. And so one thing I learned from that is that if there's a live stream, because in some venues you could be like down in the basement of an auditorium. I watch the live stream, so I kind of have an awareness of what's going on. I also won't just sit where I'm told to be, stay. I'll go out to the show or like back to the curtain to see like where are they truly at. So when the experts are saying time to glaze up, these guys don't care about your timing. They just want to make sure everyone is getting on stage and they're running you through. So be extremely aware of your surroundings and where they're truly at on stage. This is also why, like on one day out, I don't train, but I do a practice pump up.
Okay,
it's short, it's like takes me like 10 minutes it's around the time when I kind of know my best look is going to happen, and so this practice is so I know exactly what to do backstage. So there's no guesswork, right? It's not like get backstage like how do I pump up? Like I don't know, like do some curls or it's like we should already know this stuff, right? So I practice one day out to do the exact same thing when I do backstage. but I know the timing as well is a thing. So I know like, man, this only lasts me for like maybe 10 minutes. So wait till I'm in line and I see I'm about to literally walk out. And
Yeah.
in line, I'm doing kind of this pump up. Or for a lot of guys, man, like for some pro shows, like we're gonna go out there for like an hour. You think you're gonna pump up and hold it for the whole time? Like, kind of not realistic. It's almost like just go out there, look ready, and as you're posing, you're gonna get pumped up and make sure you can just make the rounds.
Yeah.
So pumping up can be a little bit overrated for a lot of these divisions. And you're like, oh man, I wasn't full. I didn't have time to pump up. It's like, man, pumping up usually isn't saving anyone going out there. So
you can do some isometrics when you're standing in line. That's what I told most of my clients. Like if you're perfectly peaked or close to perfectly peaked, all you need to do is just do some fake laterals, flexing against your own muscles, maybe a little bit of pump up, and then you're good. And with women, it's even worse because they stand in their high heels for hours.
Yeah.
I'd never let my wife did that. When she was competing, she would stand in her high heels for 20 minutes maximum. She would, just carry him around. Yeah, and then you line up, you put the oil real quick, she'd pump up, which is also great because she was in good shape. And then all the girls in the lineup would be demoralized because they'd see like, oh, fuck, she's really good. And
would y'all wear slippers as well?
Yeah. Just the whole shebang.
Backstage, just sometimes you're on like hard, cold concrete. You start getting cold. So man, I stay in my socks and like sandals till I'm like about to like walk on, just kick those off. Then I like go on stage.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Yeah. That's the best way to do it. Okay, I think we're pretty much at the end now. Any parting words for contest speaking and what people can do to look phenomenal besides just getting fucking shape for a change?
Yeah. Don't get fat in the off season.
Kurt, anything you want to parting words?
Yeah, just stay in shape all year round. Makes it much easier.
Yeah. Dean?
Yeah, give yourself enough time, like what we discussed at the very start. Minimum, I'd always say 20 weeks. Maximum, there is no real maximum, depending on how fat you are. But really, if you're going to compete, 20 weeks is pretty much a minimum. You'd rather be ready early and then be able to increase food than be chasing your tail and then do all sorts of crazy crap that we've discussed over the course of the podcast.
Yeah. John?
Yeah, I wish unicorns existed. At least maybe they do. We just haven't found them yet. But at least for peak week, they're not there. So there's no magic tricks just yet to bring in a physique that was never conditioned to begin with. So be consistent in your variables and master just assessing the look. Find your best look in peak week and just replicate that on show day. 9 times out of 10, that's going to be the better call than looking for a magical protocol.
Yeah. I would say that people compete way too early and you should only step on stage when you're truly ready. And that means doing all the work, doing all the posing, doing all the tan. So then when you do walk out, you look like a professional, even if it's your first show. I mean, look at Sam Sulek. He looked almost like a professional when he walked out and he got his pro card on his second show after feedback once. Right? He was training for a very long time, dieted his ass off, practiced the posing to the best of his abilities, showed up, took the adjustments, and won a show. If you can't do that, just stay in the audience. I know I can't do it, so I stayed in the audience. And I wish a lot of people would do that because these shows are way too long with very subpar physiques. And it takes away from the good physiques because they stay there 4 hours longer than they need to be. So we all start somewhere, but I think you can step on stage pretty damn close to where you should be if you just give yourself a little bit more time and practice a little bit harder. And yeah, that takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of effort.